Hi, I'm Karen Gibbs, Creative Director of Banyan Boutiques by Northcott, and we are reviewing the April 2022 release. The collection I wanted to do today, I've broken it up into two parts. This one is called Quilt Inspired Borders. And Quilt Inspired Borders has 31 SKUs in it, and it delivers December of 2022. Just in time to have a finishing party to finish off 2022. So it's a wonderful collection for that. Now, I look at it as a collection, but it's not in the typical sense that you've seen our collections go or be put together. Quilt Inspired, pretty obvious. It's got blocks, right? It's got quilt blocks. And the motifs are very dynamic in this particular group. They're strong colorations, or they're high contrast colorations, or they're gradation of color. And so instead of looking to, okay, here's one color palette and let's support that with essentials, which these go fabulous with, what we did is we put all of the great colorations of this particular one that we thought would go towards a border. All right. Generally, when you're pulling fabrics for a quilt, sometimes you'll pick up the border piece first because you're like, oh, I love this and I want everything to go with it, right? And then you try and mix and match. And sometimes that's how you build a quilt. Other times you pick up a pattern and you look at the pattern and you try and fit in, okay, this piece would go here, this piece would go here, this piece would go here. So you're building out, right? And then you get to the border and you're like, now I need to find a border that goes with all of these beautiful colors that I selected. And sometimes, yes, you'll use a color or a batik that you put inside the quilt, all right? But a lot of times you need that just dynamic finishing piece. And that's what these are. These are dynamic finishing pieces. All right. So each one, you have to look when you flip through and look at the flip through videos, because each one is a finishing piece for a particular palette. So it's really fun to take the BFFs and say, okay, where does that green go? Where would it go? Will it go right here? Isn't that interesting how it makes these particular fabrics sing? Okay, so it ties in beautifully with your essentials. Oop, I flipped it here. Okay, now, why borders? Why would I focus on borders? Number one, finishing and sell-through. When you're finishing a project, that means the quilt stores, they're selling through and moving the quilters on to the next project. Yay, that's awesome. So a finishing party is a great idea, especially in December, because you don't want to start something new, but you can plan a retreat and have everyone just come and bring Christmas cookies and hot chocolate and finish up projects. That's a wonderful month to do that. Okay. Another thing is, what's the average cut of a border? Okay. In a quilt, the average cut, and I'm not talking backgrounds because we're going to cover that in a minute, but the average cut is usually about a half yard. All right. Sometimes it's a yard. It depends on the size of the quilt, obviously. There's so many, different variables, but the average piece that is in a quilt can be done with a fat quarter bundle or something like that if you're doing a lot of piecing. The average cut of a border is about 2 yards, which is fantastic, okay? Because then you don't need to, if you find a few of these that you really like and you think will be great for a project that you're looking to do, you need more than one bolt because they sell through like that fast, right? Remember, they are on 15-yard bolts, but if you're doing the average cut at 2 yards, all of a sudden you need more than one bolt of these, all right? So another thing is, what could you do? Do you have a finishing area in the shop? Is there a finishing area in the shop? Like, do you have your fat backs there? Do you have binding there? Do you have batting there? Do you get people to sign up for the long arming there? That kind of thing. Can you do some sort of pre-cut with borders? Yeah, why not? I wouldn't do fat quarters because you need a bigger piece, right? We're saying about 2 yards. But what if you did a long yard? And there's so many visuals that you could do with that, right? We could reference sports references all over the place. But do a long yard. What is a long yard? It's a 2 yard piece and it's cut in half on the fold. okay, of a double enrolled. It's cut in half on the fold. So what does that give you? It gives you a long yard. And if you think about cutting it, what's your average size of a border? Maybe 4 inches, maybe 5 inches, depending on the proportion of your quilt. For an average lap size quilt, that will fit the borders for an average lap size quilt. If you are doing something bigger, so fine, you need the full 2 yards, or you'd grab 2 of the long yards. So a long yard, you get 2 yard piece, you cut it in half on that fold, and you get 2 long yard piece, roll it up, label it, and it's a quick pickup item at a 2 yard cut, or 2 1 yard cuts, right? As opposed to a fat quarter, which is a lot less in monetary value. Okay, so think about that. Try and put that thought. It's a term that's being thrown around a lot right now, the long yards, and I think it's a wonderful way to move these fun, inspirational, vibrant, dynamic prints, okay, with a lot of color going on. Because remember, on your batik wall, this much is showing. That's it, all right? So are you seeing the color changes, all of the color changes that are in these particular fabrics? No, you're not, all right? So sometimes draping it over the edge, not draping all of them, but draping them over the edge of the bolt so all of that color can be shown, or having a finishing area. Your batik wall is an array of color, and it's overwhelming sometimes. So if you have your multis or your finishing, that kind of thing in one area, it's nice and easy to pick that up. Whether you're one of those quilters who starts with your favorite fabric and matches into it, or you're building a project from the beginning and then building out. Speaking of projects, we got some fun ones in the lookbook. And make sure you check them out. We've got some colored up here, and then in the back of the lookbook, we have all of the charts as well. So I make sure I tab them so it's an easy flip back, all right? So the borders, I like these because these are wonderful for your bag lady kind of classes, right? They're those dynamic prints that you need just maybe a couple of essentials to go with, and they make a fabulous bag. And we have the Nina bag here in that's showcased in this particular lookbook, okay? I have some other project in here. I think it's called Pharaoh's Diamond. And make sure you check in the back of the charts, because there's another colorway there. But it shows how to use the border and match it back to the essentials, and use the variation of color, because we do have some that are draped here that have that variation of color in them, that ombre effect, and showcasing how it works so beautifully with the essentials, I think is a wonderful project. Oh, here's the other colorway as well, okay? Now, another project that we are showcasing in here is the Madison Star. And the Madison Star is a project actually I designed. It's named after my middle child, Madison. I get free labor on Mother's Day. And I thanked her very much for that, and she said the least you could do is name the thing after me. Okay, so that's where Madison Star came from. It is a Bargello style quilt, all right, but it's a Bargello because you're filling in the shape of the diamond, all right. It goes together in a weekend. Now, you've seen it colored up in essentials. We've colored up in shadows. We've colored it up in Khatan. The reason you've seen it that way is because it works so well with any fabric, okay? Okay, maybe it works with cotton too, but I don't want to admit that. It's only batik, okay? But it works with any of them. And we put it here because this is an interesting program. We wanted to focus on sell-through or finishing a project. Because we know that's something obviously on the store's mind right now, you know, with these changing times and all of this shipping and all of the interesting new people coming in. We felt that why don't we, Banyan Batiks, give the stores an opportunity to win a sell-through kind of program. And that's what this is. It's a weekend retreat kind of thing. It's called a Madison Star Marathon. It's 3 days, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And we kick it off Thursday night with a presentation by me called it's for the love of batiks. And I talk about how batiks are made. And it gives an appreciation of batiks. And each, we say they're all handmade, right? But do we know the exact process? And it's wonderful to talk about what Banyan does to support the factories in Indonesia. Okay, so we do cover that. Now, this is a wonderful weekend where the students will finish that Madison Star. That's a queen size quilt they're going to finish because they're going to want to pick out their borders, right? So it's wonderful to have the quilt inspired borders. Your stores are automatically entered to win this program. If they do the Sweet 16 with the choose 16 SKUs from borders and backgrounds, and then they're automatically entered to win this. Now, this isn't a live event, it's an in-person event with me. I'm going to be traveling to the store, and Northcott's picking up the tab. So I think it's a wonderful way to put a program into your stores. Okay, so this is Quilt Inspired Borders, and it ships in December.